family can be an important part of one's life, especially if you share values. Oftentimes, since you grow up with them and spend a lot of time, spend a lot of experiences together, that's oftentimes what connects people. But sometimes it is also the ideas they hold. This is the case also for Tucker Carlson, who just had his brother on his podcast, on his Tucker Carlson podcast, and um, they are definitely brothers. Now, just because you are part of some family doesn't mean you necessarily have to have the same opinions. I mean, we could look at their father, right? Richard Carlson, who I haven't experienced much. I haven't sort of like seen much from him, but at least from what I've heard, is generally respected person in the sort of the community. And I'm wondering what he would think of his sons right now, but I don't want to go too much into the familiar stuff there. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Daniel. I'll be doing the show today alone for the most part, but we will have sort of like part of the reality show. We'll keep it on the same live stream though. We'll try this thing where we'll have people joining in half an hour, and sort of we'll also change the topic. So with this one, in the first half an hour, we'll discuss this Tucker Carlson podcast, and then later we'll switch to Donald Trump sort of promising help to Iranian protesters, with one of them seemingly being tariffs being put on countries that trade with Iran. And also we'll also play one video where somebody talks about how he's hesitant to support Iranian protesters because it helps Israel, as of course. So yeah, we'll go into the Tucker Carlson interview in just a bit. But before that, I want to remind people of one clip. This was from the America Fest that happened. People want to remember when Ben Shapiro went after Tucker Carlson, among others. And one of the response from Tucker Carlson was this.
If my brother went on a drug-related murder spree, I would not denounce him. What? Are you for drug-related murder sprees? No, I'm for my brother. And nothing will ever make me not for my brother.
So when I first watched it, this just seemed as, that kind of weird thing where you don't really apply any values, any standards to certain people for some reason. Tucker Carlson says he would be for his brother even if he went on drug-related murder spree. Now, I do have a brother, and if he's listening to this, I'm sad to say that if he went on drug-related murder spree, I don't think the relationship would be the same, especially if he did indeed get convicted, sorry. But let's take a look at what kind of brother are we really talking about when it comes to Tucker Carlson. Let's take a look at one of the clips.
I remember, the most important thing that went on in our lives as we were growing up, the most important enduring conflict was the Iron Curtain and communism. And I remember talking with you and others all the time about those poor people who live in the Soviet Union who have no access to real news. They have TASS and they have Zvestia, what was the other one?
Zvestia,
Pravda. And they don't have the freedom to go to church. And obviously their economy sucks because it's managed by a government and that never works. But really, they didn't have access to accurate information.
Right.
They had no access to any real news. And further, they had been taught as a society terrible things about America and Americans. And specifically, we used to also talk after the Iron Curtain came down, had the same attitude about North Korea. Like, here are these poor, emaciated captives who can't leave their own country, who think these terrible and untrue things about Americans. And it was only a couple of years ago that I suddenly realized I had this epiphany. We're fucking North Korea. We are North Koreans. And so much of what the government has told us throughout our lives about big events and small events are simply not true. Not just massaged, but like 180 degrees from truth and reality.
Now this is a problem oftentimes when people like this say something like that because of events. I like, what are we really talking about here? What kind of specific events is he referring to? Is he referring to maybe COVID, when the lockdowns happen that probably shouldn't have? Maybe you want to attribute it to some sort of government lying or misguiding people, or going in the wrong directions. Or are we talking about the Holocaust? Like, what kind of thing are we specifically referring to? He's talking, and like, this is truly disgusting, right? He's talking about Soviet Union. I thankfully have only lived in a relatively free state, even though Slovakia is not the best country. Actually, it's many cases it's the worst country of the EU as of right now. But still, it's relatively a liberal democracy with free press, with international organizations, being able to act with the freedom of travel. Me as a 23-year-old was able to, in the last 3 years, I think I took like 70 flights in and out of the country. This was easy, and many of those flights were actually to America, right? So what is he talking about? He said no access to real news, freedom to go to church, their economy sucks, and they've been taught terrible things about Soviet Union. So, like, what exactly is he saying? Like, America has a free press. You are free to do anything you want. You are free to live. This is something, and maybe we'll play that clip later. This is something Tucker Carlson often talks about. Like, I'm an American. I can do whatever I want. I can do this. I can do that. You can go to any church you want in America. There is freedom of religion and freedom from religion. Nobody can come in and enforce their religion on you. There is no Sharia law, despite the fact that, in some of the past episodes, Tucker Carlson said that and Sharia law is basically the same. The American system of governments, the English common law, and Sharia law, that's basically the same thing, if you really think about it. So maybe in that way, that's why he considers everything the same. What else did he say? No access to real news. I mean, as I've said, there is free access, or rather, a press is relatively free in America. There is a First Amendment. If there are any problems with shutting down of the free press, everybody is welcome. You can challenge it at the Supreme Court, and most likely it will be upheld, right? Freedom, like, First Amendment is very important for Americans, oftentimes being talked about. The fact is, Tucker Carlson is doing this show, right? This person is doing this show. Would they be able to do this show in North Korea? Although, with the kinds of views Tucker Carlson has, his show was projected in Iran and in Soviet Union. So, funnily enough, it's their point of view that is welcome to be shared in Iran and in Russia and maybe even in North Korea, because of how much comparison they are trying to do between United States and North Korea. Like, what are we talking about? And when he says they have been taught terrible things about Soviet Union, now, I haven't gone through American public education. From the people I hear, it sucks, but it sucks because, as with anything government is involved in that it shouldn't be, it's not the proper one to do so. To teach history, to teach geopolitics, you need a proper frame of mind, sort of proper view of history. You need a philosophy to discuss the history through a certain lens. That will give you, some overarching theme you're going for, some overarching understanding of what you're trying to achieve, such as, freedom, enlightenment, freedom of thought, freedom of religion, or those things. Those things should generally be the goal. And through that lens, yeah, Soviet Union was bad and should be discussed as bad. Nazi Germany was bad and should be discussed as bad. Holocaust did happen, and it is bad. What else is there? And yeah, then it says, like, we're fucking North Koreans, like, and Tucker Carlson is there basically agreeing. Like, this is a. I mean, I would say this is a joke. But the fact is, Tucker Carlson is one of the biggest political podcasts on the platform. People are listening to this, and people are not calling this out. I mean, some are. I've been going through X with this particular one, and I've seen like Dave Rubin call this out. Now, I had a very low opinion of Dave Rubin for some time, but in the recent moments, he seems to be calling out Tucker Carlson and that kind of ilk. So I might want to listen to Dave Rubin again just to see what he has been up to. But generally, my view of him has been pretty low. But again, this is what they are trying to do, right? Because how do you destroy good? You don't destroy good by attacking it directly, because you can't. The fact is, you cannot destroy America from outside. You cannot destroy the free world from outside. You cannot destroy freedom from outside. What you have to do is compare it. You have to say that Soviet Union and America are the same. That's what you get with the United Nations, right? We are basically the same. You have to say that American capitalism and North Korean communism are basically the same. That's how you destroy America from outside. That's the way to do so. And that's how you destroy it from the inside. That's how it works. And this is exactly what Carlson's are trying to achieve here. And they are seemingly doing a great job. They are the #1 podcast, and people are unable to call this out. I've recently seen that apparently Donald Trump has called out anti-Semitism, said that it has no place in the right, it shouldn't be here, and things like that, which is good to some extent, but I think you have to call out specific people, just like Ben Shapiro did. Because the fact is, Tucker Carlson will say, right, that no, I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't believe in anti-Semitism. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing. But then he goes on and says a bunch of anti-Semitic points. Invites a bunch of anti-Semites on the show to spew their vile speech. So you have to call specific people if we ever hope to actually eject these people from the right. But again, this is something for the right to do. I'm not on the right. I've never really connected fully with it. I don't hold the same ideas or even the same basic ideas. So it's on them to get rid of it if they do not want anti-Semitism to be important part of the right. Now something I was calling with Brazi before this, and something funny that I've said is, because Tucker Carlson goes on to say that he wouldn't denounce his brother, and when we see his opinion, yeah, it makes sense he wouldn't denounce his brother no matter what he did. I'm wondering if they would denounce their father, who I don't think he would go with them. Even, he might have also sort of like respected or, acknowledged the independence of their sons. But I'm not sure if he would like the way they are going, where I would describe both brothers, as fundamentally anti-American. I don't think they stand for anything American. Again, you might disagree with what CNN or NBC or even Fox, New York Post, New York Times, or any newspapers are doing, right? But trying to say that New York Times is equivalent to Pravda in Soviet Union, I mean, that's just disgusting. We have a super chat, and now Razi is, I'm gonna act as like Trump, if people remember when Marco Rubio slid a piece of paper to Trump. I'm just gonna act and read out what Razi said. He doesn't like that I started the joke with like something funny I said. I'm talking very sort of off the cuff, so I don't have the full setups ready. But okay, we actually do have one more clip that I quickly wanted to go through. So from the podcast, so let's take a look at this one.
A couple of your nieces called me, Uncle Buck's on Twitter. I had no idea. I was like, I didn't know that. How long have you been on Twitter?
Not very long, since 2010, but mostly as a reader.
Yeah.
And now that there's nowhere else you can get news except for Un's Review, are we allowed to talk about Un's Review on this? Other than Un's review, or Revolver News, the only other place you can get information these days is on X.
And this is scary, right? Like I like, to some extent, I like X. I mean, I like Twitter more, but I think it's still one of the best places for sort of like immediate thing to come out. But taking all your news from X that is plagued by Russian bots, by Qatari bots, by foreign lobbyists, by whoever, you don't even know what many of the people are saying, by especially in the age of AI images, like all that, and you take your news from all your news from X. I would never do that. I mean, I would never like take news from just one. I mean, again, it depends, right? I think generally for pure journalism, you just go to mainstream news. I think for pure journalism, meaning what has happened, certain sort of like basic facts, I think just going to even CNN, Fox, even Guardian, like whichever mainstream news in your local country is generally going to be good. You won't find straight up lies about what has happened. Now, when you go to commentary, or opinion polls or opinion pieces, then I would be a bit, be careful about what these people are saying. But that's what it is, right? Opinion pieces. They are not dealing with just the facts of what is happening. They are also putting some spin on it in terms of like how to evaluate the situation. And oftentimes the evaluation sucks, but the core piece can still be good. But even then, you can check multiple news sites from even both left and the right, or supposedly middle, and you can compare all of that together, put it all together, and form an opinion based on that. But what news? So he mentioned X, which again, terrible for simply like the news, the basic news. But what else he recommends? Like answer review. I don't know if you guys, maybe you can tell me if somebody knows of the answer review. I haven't heard it before. I didn't want to learn about it before actually like reading some of the articles. So I checked answer review. I checked the website, and this is the top stories I have seen. I haven't even like read them thoroughly, and this was only from like a few days ago, right? So one was about Trump should take over Greenland. There was one of them. Another one was talking about Israeli involvement in Venezuela. Well, by the way, there were like 3 articles on the top site. You can go check the top site right now. There were like 3 articles about Israeli and Zionist involvement in Venezuela. One was talking about how many Israeli false flag operations there were, and on the thumbnail was a Bondi Beach terrorist attack. Another one was talking about the Zionist takeover of American media, and it had Barry Weiss on the top page. So this is the kind of thing you get at Answer Review, which I was interested in what exactly it was doing, because then I looked up into it more. Apparently, it's also like a conspiracy, or it's like a conspiracies kind of site with even Holocaust denialism. Although I haven't seen that, I've just seen that somebody was or like it said that on Wikipedia. But again, I haven't confirmed the Holocaust denialism, just conspiracism, and what I've said about what I've seen. But also, most importantly, Answer Review is not journalism. Like what we do, even on this channel on Ayn Rand Center UK, we don't do journalism. We at least right now, we don't have people on the ground in Gaza, in Israel, being able to report on the situation, in Iran. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the tools to do so, and neither does Answer Review. They don't do any of that. They just do opinion pieces. Opinion pieces are not news. They are evaluation of the news. They are commentary on the news. They are commentary on the journalism. They are not journalism. This is an important thing. So what this guy is saying is he reads X, he reads Answer Reviews, and he reads Revolver or whatever it was. I didn't even look up into this one. So he doesn't actually consume news. So he says we are like North Koreans because we don't see, we don't know what the truth is. Well, you don't consume the truth. You don't actually are interested in any of the news. You're just interested in your particular view of the world, and you just want that to be repeated without like knowing what's actually going on. Again, I would agree that it's easy to not really know what's going on in the world, but you do it to yourself. There's plenty of information, there's plenty of journalism, there's plenty of good reporting to go around about any particular topic, especially with a lot of stuff you can simply double check if you are interested. Like America, for all its parts, for all its faults, still has relatively open government. Whenever you want to look up something, you can look up something. I spend a lot of time on American websites, on the Department of Justice website, on the White House website. Oh, the White House website has gotten a bit bad. That is like actual just straight up lies being there. But sort of, for information, you can go to CDC website, or you can go to the Department of Labor for like that kind of information, right? You can find a lot of information on official government websites, a lot of reporting if you are actually interested in the truth, if you are actually want to know what's really happening. And even when we have a problem with what the government is saying, well, we have Freedom of Information Act, or I'm not American. Americans have Freedom of Information Act. You can request documents from the government if you are interested in something. Or when that is happening, we can, Congress can call officials to talk about something that they might have problem with, that somebody might be hiding. America is, I mean, we're like trying to compare it to North Korea. What North Korean website can I go to find out what inflation is there? What North Korean website can I go to find out what's the unemployment rate? What official can I call to their Congress or their parliament or whatever they call it to talk about the situation in North Korea? Like saying, like, and this is why they're anti-American, right? Like that is actually disgusting. Like America has a long tradition of free elections, of openness of government, of really great things that have happened, and and I wouldn't expect these people from the right are like trying to destroy all of it. They don't like America. They don't like anything it stands for. They have problem with everything. Somebody says ground news and such are pretty useful services, not an ad. If ground news would like to sponsor us, maybe we can talk. I found them relatively, it's hard to orientate. I don't like the website itself. But yeah, it's basically, you might have a topic and it will recommend several different websites that have covered this. So, you can talk about it. So yeah, what else did we say? Do I have anything else? So I do have one more clip that I do want to go into, but I don't want to go into it yet. So yeah, just sort of like summarizing this whole topic. I think what Tucker Carlson is doing is, yeah, straight up, he's trying to like destroy America completely. I mean, what values are you even standing for right now? That's what I always call out, right? What do you actually want? When you have Tucker Carlson talking about how Venezuela is socially conservative and that he likes Qatar, that he wants to live in Qatar, that he wants America to change its relationships with its neighbor. When he says he wants country to deal with other countries based on how much stuff they have. I mean, this is pure brute kind of idea, a complete lack of any proper philosophy, a complete lack of any sort of even view of America, right? View of American, or believe in American capitalism, believe in American Constitution, in freedom of speech, in I mean pretty much anything, right? Like this is what, whenever somebody says like you cannot even speak about something, which they are kind of alluding to, right? Like nobody's speaking the truth. Only this conspiracy website is actually talking about the truth. What else? Like they are going against what they are saying, because if you truly couldn't say anything, like in North Korea, you don't go on a podcast that gets millions of views to talk about how you cannot talk about something. Like in North Korea, you don't talk about it. Like that's why I love when somebody says, Russia is looking so great, Iran is looking so great, North Korea looks so great, Qatar looks so great. Yeah, when you don't have a free press, it's pretty easy to hide the bad parts of your country. Uh, and we don't hide the bad parts of Western countries because we want to improve them. Russia wants to hide them. Russia wants to hide all uh, the fact that what is the inflation even right now, or specifically, even more important, what is the um what is it, the interest rates? I mean, if you want to get a mortgage in Russia, last time I checked, it was like 20%. Imagine getting a 20% mortgage. My credit card is less interest rate than Russian mortgages right now. Like imagine getting that kind of thing, and again still believing that Russia is better. I mean, yeah, if you are, somebody like Tucker, somebody who would probably even work with the Russian government, you can probably get some sort of deal, some sort of things out of them to live a good life even in a dictatorship. But and I wouldn't even say for a poor person or for somebody who doesn't make much, but for an individual, for an independent individual, there is no place in Iran. There is no place in North Korea. There is no place in Russia. If you are somebody who actually wants to use their mind, who actually wants to be productive, who actually wants to do something capable, dictatorships are not a place for you, because ability is a threat in any dictatorship. That's why I love talking about that's what's really interesting about talking about things like the Six-Day War, right? Because the big reason why Arab armies either don't even really exist or suck is because they cannot reward capability. They cannot reward somebody being capable of doing something great. Because if you acknowledge that people are capable of achieving something great, people are capable of being independent, on thinking independently, why would you need a dictator to rule over them? Why would you need a dictator to rule over free people? Free people should be able to govern themselves. That was the belief of the founding father, that the individual is capable of, in a sense, ruling himself, and uh, doesn't need some sovereign. He is sovereign in himself. He can achieve great things on his own. That's why we believe, or America has it in its Declaration of Independence, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of its happiness. Because happiness is not guaranteed by somebody else, but it's actually pursued. And with this, since we are at a full hour mark, we will actually be joined by Dan T. Richards. Dan, have you seen my email about the way we are doing this new show, that we are already live and that we are switching topics? So yeah, I'll introduce Dan a bit more in a second and the new topic. But we actually changed the topic. So we talked about Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you've seen him doing a show with his brother recently, where they talked about, maybe we can go to some of your comments briefly, but basically he had his brother on, who said that America is basically the same as North Korea. You cannot, what is it specifically? You have no access to real news, no freedom to go to church, their economy sucks, and they have been taught terrible things about the other sides. And quote, we're fucking North Koreans.
Oh, okay. Is that all? Tucker, I know, has spent some time in Russia, but maybe he should spend some time in North Korea as well, although I'm not sure he would come out of there with the truth in hand anyway. I think the Babylon Bee has been hitting him pretty hard lately. They had a piece about Tucker on his way to Iran to put down these protests. Right, he has just flipped into an absolute total authoritarian in a way that I don't understand as someone who grew up actually kind of liking Tucker Carlson and meeting him a couple times back when he in his bow tie days, if anyone remembers that fashion icon. But no, I don't think that North Korea and the U.S. are all that similar. First of all, you can leave the U.S. if you want to without fear of being, murdered. In addition to any number of other things, listening to pop music without fear of being killed. I don't know if Tucker and his brother where they are and what church they're going to, but even as an atheist, I have no problem if I want to go to a church here in Dallas. So maybe they should come visit. Love to have them for a coffee.
Yeah, I would assume. I think they are both Protestant. I don't know what kind. I'm not even sure where they exactly grew up. But yeah, I mean something that just to say on Tucker a bit longer. Something you said I wanted to comment. Well, one, you said about like Iran and North Korea. Well, I've said that when they talk about like you cannot speak openly, like Tucker Carlson is somebody who would probably have a microphone even in the dictatorship. And I'm not even saying that because he was being played by the Iranian state. Like his podcast was being played. He was, he had a interview with Putin. Who just has an interview with Putin? He had an interview with Pezeshkian. I wouldn't be surprised if he like was the one person who might actually get an interview with Kim Jong-un. I mean, it might actually be like the interview. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, but uh, but yeah, so there's that. But yeah, I guess we'll switch topics. I just quickly want to do one more clip on Tucker, just briefly, and then we'll switch the topic. So just this one.
Well, I like it here a lot. Yeah, I like it.
You have been.
By the way, I'm an American. I can go wherever I want and speak to anyone I want to because I'm a free man. That's the promise of my country. And some are seeking to change that and to put our population into mental bondage, and I'm not participating in that.
I mean, Putin has been the most effective leader in my lifetime. But why is he more evil than Joe Biden? Yeah, well, I can't even conceptualize that.
Why am I required to hate Assad? Nicolas Maduro and his government in Venezuela, it's one of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies.
But Americans are afraid of Iran. They see video of Iranians saying death to America.
They don't mean death to the people of the United States or even to the officials.
گروهی که دارید اداره میکنید کشورتون رو مراد اینه. حالا در این دوره اینان.
All right, this whole thing is like 3 minutes. Maybe I can put it. I laugh whenever I listen to Tucker or see a clip of Tucker and there's the RT logo up there. You just love to see that. It's like, so, I mean, again, I hate, I don't know, Dan, how you feel about that, but I hate when people talk about freedom in like freedom to do terrible things. And defend it on that regards. Like freedom of speech is about, it's about saying the most hateful things. And people sometimes like defend it like it's the freedom to offend, the freedom to like do bad. When it comes to, even sometimes people talk about that, about like free will. When people do something weird, it's like, oh, I love human free will. Here he's talking about like freedom of America to like have a go to Qatar. Like really? Is that what the founding fathers were thinking about? We need freedom, so in the future, some propagandists can go to dictatorships like freely. No, freedom is to allow the best within people, to allow freedom of thought, to achieve great things. And extension of that is, of course, that we tolerate isn't the right word, but of course, extension of that is that some people, if they don't want to use that to achieve the greatest, but want to do something else, are of course allowed, because we cannot target one without the other. But it should always be, freedom is that for the greatest within people, not for the most vile that they want to do.
For sure. I agree. This is why I sometimes get in a little tiff with my libertarian friends, right? When they talk their version of freedom, I always say, it doesn't sound very appealing to the average person. the freedom to do just the absolute worst stuff to yourself, boy, that is not a super inspiring life that you want to live. No, I often talk about in my business with my employees about living a life worthy of freedom, living a life worthy of liberty and free will. So deciding on a day-to-day basis what it is that is going to be living up to those ideals, not living down to the worst within you, for sure. I also, in those clips, just is there a dictator that Tucker has met that he doesn't like? And I'd like to see what this person actually looks like. If so, some of the policies that he was backing there, like he was talking about in Venezuela, it's a great state because they have all these anti-gay policies, right? That's his thing lately. Um, and death to America only means death to leadership. All right, tell that to the people who died on 9/11 and any of a number of other terrorist attacks. Death to America means death to Americans, death to American ideas, death to the values that we hold dear. It's pretty clear at this point that it's not. It reminds me of the retconning of From the River to the Sea that we've seen lately as well. Words do have meanings, and I'd like for us to continue using those meanings.
Yeah, even when he says, what was it, something like Putin or Biden, I cannot understand how you could view like Biden better than or Putin worse than Biden. And this is the kind of thing where like this should be like so clear, where like when we are like, because I'm not sure if we like really commented positively on almost anything like Biden did, right? But we're like dealing with degrees. If like we are talking about Biden in context of free elections happen, we have this president, and we are talking about him in the American context. We are not talking about Putin in the same way. Like, yeah, and I would say this to Tucker Carlson, Biden is miles better than Putin. Even because of the place he is, right? Putin is in the place of a complete autocrat taking over the regime, trying to taking over another country, actively getting involved in European elections and trying to subvert them, killing people in UK, for example, targeting the Russian hackers, targeting with the sanction of the government, targeting American plans, helping Iran kill Americans, helping the Houthis. This was a story that many people haven't covered, but Russia has been helping the Houthis with like targeting of international shipping. Russia was involved in Syria. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on about all the stuff that has happened, and any of that you could compare to Biden, might be bad comparatively to past presidents or even what we would expect from American presidents, but cannot be compared to like somebody like Putin.
I just don't understand what his actual moral compass is lately, other than it seems to be where he's getting funding. Now, I hate to be that guy, but like I don't understand what he considers to be good or bad in the context of government anymore. It was clear for a long time, at least, that he had some nominally traditionally conservative views, and that government was supposed to be very limited, stay out of all these places except maybe the bedroom. But even that he seems to have abandoned for something that is a total mystery to me, other than it appears to prop up the worst possible governments around the world as either good, emphatically, or not that bad compared to here, of all places. So,
yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, I don't know who first tagged it. I think I first heard it from Kirk Wilcox, who has a great channel, but it's the Blame America First. And this used to be sort of part of the left, or the sort of more sort of the most leftist, the tankist, the sort of, is that whatever happens, you just blame America. Like, you just hate America, and that's what your basis is. And now I don't know if you've seen like the amount of like connection that now is happening between Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks and Tucker Carlson and even like Nick Fuentes. And I compare this to and maybe we do this comparison too much, but to like Weimar Germany, where like the Communist Party didn't want to work with the Social Democrats because they hated the Weimar system. So they would rather the Nazis completely take over and then destroy the system itself, And then maybe the communists could take over back. But of course, Hitler killed all the communists, or basically completely suppressed that faction. And I think something similar is happening, that I don't know if Tucker has a full coherent system of it. I think somebody like Nick Fuentes does. I think Nick Fuentes hates the American system. He wants a theocracy. He wants completely change. He doesn't like the founding fathers. He wants to change the shape of America right now. And that's what the communists or people like Cenk Uygur also want. They hate the moderate Democrats or the moderate Republicans in the same way that the people like Nick Fuentes hate the sort of moderate Republicans. So in that way, they are allies. They have the same enemy, the American system. And that's what they want to destroy. With somebody like Tucker Carlson, I have no idea if he has this full fleshed out like view, or if he is more just a Megyn Kelly, which I think might be true with her, just go where the clicks are. The fact is, both of their show are very popular. This is something that simply plays well with people.
Yeah, I guess if it's getting reach, then it must be right, according to the Tuckers and Kellys of the world, which is a profoundly disappointing place to be for someone who revolutionized online journalism the way he did back in the day. And I do still remember a lot of his conversations with, say, like Jon Stewart back in the day, which have become classics. But I will never forget that bow tie. He will live forever with that bow tie as icon, even if he has deteriorated into some moral monster in the modern era.
Well, let's actually switch to the topic we wanted to do, and it's Iran. Specifically, Trump is saying that he will do something about it. And what he's doing, we'll go into more stuff, but what he seems to be doing right now is threatening tariffs, although if you go by his tweet, he already did it, but sort of threatening tariffs on every country that is trading with Iran, sort of like trying to put a pressure on Iran. So this would be, I don't know if he said specific percentage. I know 25% has been going around, but oh yeah. Any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay 25% tariff on any and all business being done with United States of America. Now, this would include, of course, China, who's already threatening with the tariffs back, but apparently would also include a bunch of states that have free trade agreements with America, such as Japan. Then what do we... in general, what do you think or how do you evaluate Trump's position on the Iranian protest so far? And yeah, what do you make of this pushback?
Look, to start with an unequivocal good. He has been very positive on, at least vocally supporting the protesters through social media and egging them on and saying it's a good thing, which is we haven't seen a lot of. So I'm happy to see that from an American president. But I think Trump gets out of bed in the morning, stubs his toe, and then puts a 25% tariff on the bed. Like, I don't know. It seems to be the one hammer that he attacks everything that he seems to think is a nail, that or regime change. So we'll see if that's the other thing he pulls out of his bag. But I don't understand. We don't liberate people by taxing our trade partners. Tariff is an expression of force. It's not principle. It's economic coercion that is backed by the worst types of abstractions, and it's going to hurt real people that have nothing to do with this. Tariffs overall are just the absolute worst form of, quote, economic payback that you could enact, because it's essentially shooting ourselves in the foot. So it's not going to be effective if he does go through with it, and I'm not even sure he will go through with it. He's become known as this, I forget the phrase they use, taco, which is something about no,
Trump
I forget the
chicken's
acronym.
out.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So I don't know if he'll actually go through with it, or in fact, if it's legal, we'll hear from the Supreme Court soon about if his use of emergency tariffs is even constitutional, which I think it will be pretty clearly not. But I think there are other things he could be doing, making sure that protecting, say, satellites information into Iran, offering asylum for those who are fleeing, making it easier for people to get out of the country, and then continuing with the moral support as well. But the tariffs, goodness gracious, just hit yourself in the hand with a hammer. That's about as good as tariffs are going to do.
Yeah, and this is what I hate the most about the whole, like, not even having any philosophy to like guide anything through. Because potentially I could see, I mean, I don't know if tariffs, especially on trade partners, but I could see like sanctions working. And the fact is, the problem is that Iran is trading with China, and it's hard to shut down the trade with China. But this
Yeah.
is something we could have been preparing for decades, if not since the rise of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes overuse the like game analogy, but I'm playing this grand strategy game which takes place. You like control economy and politics and such. And when I know that I'm like trading with another country and I might go to war with them or something, you best damn sure that like 10 years before, I'm like switching my domestic production. I'm like switching around my trade partners. I'm like switching around the way the whole system is set up. So when the war happens, I'm sure, this is my support for the American military industrial complex, because I think in the way it was envisioned, I think it's a great thing. The fact is that when a war happens, you are ready for it, right? You don't have to convert tractor factories or car companies into tank production. You have the supply chains set up. So when a war happens, you can very quickly do it, hopefully end the war as soon as possible, and be done with it, right? So I like the idea of it, and it was like a long-term setup of like how to properly do it. But with this one, it's like, well, is Russia our enemy? Is Russia American enemy? Should we do something about the way we have been, the fact that after 2014 we were still trading with Russia, even after uh, the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, we were still somewhat trading with Russia. I mean, we had like a story in Slovakia because the Ukraine agreed to basically allow the gas from Gazprom, from a Russian company, to go through Ukraine into, for example, Slovakia. And Slovakia didn't have a plan what to do after that deal went through, which ended last year. Had no deal, nothing ready with Western companies, which, for example, Czechia has completely switched off the Russian gas and figured out a way to supply from other countries. And this is the kind of thing where, and this is what Trump is, right? Like you said, waking up in the morning. Like, I think even tariffs you could somewhat figure out a possible use case for. But if you want to target China, yes, but use EU nations to trade with instead. But what is happening? EU nations are now trading with China instead, which again is terrible on the EU part. But in some level, what are they supposed to do if like America completely tariffs them, right? And now with this one, we have apparently both South Korea and Japan, who already had a problem because they also had tariffs on them. They managed to take them down, and now they might come again because they are trading with Iran. And this is the kind of thing, like, Trump could go to South Korea and Japan and say, okay, what are you getting from Iran? Let's figure out a way to get it from somewhere else. But no, it's just...
No, you're right. It's no thinking in principle, no thinking ahead, no strategic vision. It's just this one weapon. And yeah, maybe there are strategic uses of tariffs. I could maybe be convinced of that. But these blanket tariffs on everything just are ineffective all around. The thing and probably most of our viewers know, is that countries typically don't trade with countries. That's a very old mercantilist type of view of trade. Like, companies are trading with other companies, individuals with individuals, and that's who it's going to hurt ultimately. But yes, if you could convince these countries to say, hey, stop trading with Iran and get those things from these other places, or if you stop trading with Iran, we'll lower all these barriers or whatever, positive incentives to stop doing it. That would be a much more principled, forward-looking approach. But no, Trump is a man of the moment. He is, in many ways, the ultimate pragmatist. of whatever is going to, quote, work right now in his fun little mind is what he is going to do.
Yeah, and for example, even like actually getting something through, because I don't know if you know that, but when the tariffs originally started, what was it, April 2nd? Thankfully, it wasn't on April 1st because nobody would believe what he was actually doing. But when it happened, actually, Israel was the one country that has actually lowered tariffs before even like doing any deal. And even right now, apparently, Israel is one of the countries that is completely removing any tariffs. I think largely part to Bezalel Smotrich, who is the finance minister, being sort of like a free market, at least on trade, being relatively free market. So that was like really great to see. But yeah, I wish we just had more of that, like actually understanding that, like, yeah, like trade is good. And even when you want to, because I think that there are some like okay grievances, especially I know that EU puts like insane fines on a lot of American companies to fund them. And yeah, that is bad, but like I just wish there was like some better way to figure it out than yeah, just this sort of blanket tariffs that again disrupt trade, and you're attacking individuals, right? Like you're not helping, like the companies that are already being fined in EU probably didn't welcome the tariff suddenly coming in. And
Right.
we know that, right? Because I'm talking about companies like Apple who try to work very hard to get tariff exemptions and got tariff exemptions for their specific products. One thing I would just comment on this is, again, the way it's done, right? Trump puts a Truth Social post, effective immediately. Any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. And you could connect it to also the effective January 20th, 10% on credit card interest rate. And it's like, so if you are a credit card company, or if you are a company that is importing stuff from Japan, when he said effective immediately, if you, let's say I woke up today, I'm going to the port. Am I putting 25% there for the stuff that is coming in? Am I
Right.
putting that in the invoice? Like the president said that. Like, and this is another thing, like the chaos. And this is what happened, I think, even during the tariffs, the chaos that nobody knew. Like, okay, what are we actually putting on these tariffs? We have no idea.
Yeah, Obama said, "I have a phone and a pen," and Trump says, "Well, I can beat that. I've got a cell phone and a Twitter account." Like, what is this rule by tweet or Truth Social or whatever? I don't even go on Truth Social, so I have no idea what's going on there. But like, what is this? This is totally antithetical to limited government rule of law. This is not how this is supposed to work. And I blame Trump, of course. I blame Trump, but I also blame Congress, who just seems to be completely ineffectual and unable to do anything to rule in Trump, or even the sort of general structure that Trump is using, this rule by tweet decree. So maybe the Supreme Court will do something about it. We should not, as a country, put all of our hopes in 9 lawyers who wear black robes. My God, that is a recipe for disaster. It's our representative officials who should be actually doing the work here to limit the president's insanity. The problem is that many of them are perfectly fine with his insanity as long as it grants them more and more power, quote unquote, to stay in office. But yes, the absolute chaos and uncertainty is the worst economic thing that can happen. It's why, although we have, say, a growing stock market, we still continue to see hiring be abysmal, because businesses have no idea what the future is going to look like, what things are going to cost. They can't project further out than a couple months because of the way that Trump manages, quote unquote, the economy here. It's frightening. And certainly the founding fathers will be rolling over in their graves. So we have that too. Fun.
Yeah, and so sort of switching off or switching over to the Trump talking about the protesters. So he said today, I think this was also on Truth Social, quote, "Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institution, save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price." And he also said, I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way. Now, just yesterday, Trump was saying that he's in talks with Iranian officials about some sort of a deal, or at least he said they want a deal. Now he's saying that he's canceling all the meetings until it stops, and he's saying the help is coming, as well as I believe there should be a meeting today, if it hasn't yesterday, about what possibly Trump's options are. So Daniel, as somebody who is American, what would you want Trump to do, or what do you think the ideal American situation would be right now?
Well, it's certainly not regime change. I don't want Trump to go in with the military and oust the leader and run the country, as we're attempting to do in South America. But I do think that I like the sort of moral clarity, not that he has it, but maybe he's accidentally stumbling upon it here, of supporting the protesters, telling them to oust the regimes, not engaging with the regime in any meaningful way. There should be no deal, quote unquote. That is absolute absurdity. Trump should not push for that. Um, Again, if he could do something that helps secure information, right? Protected satellite internet access, or boosted it in some way. I'm not exactly sure what the policy might be, but making sure that information runs through the country, making it easier for people to get out, offering asylum. Now, I know that's totally antithetical to Trump. He doesn't want any foreigners coming into the country. But if that's what the government should be doing, is making it incentivizing people to get out if they can, or for those who want to stay, making it easier for them to protest. Will he do that? Probably not. He's probably going to end up doing some version of a deal or some version of regime change, which is not going to be fun for anyone. But that is the Trump we know and do not love.
So specifically, we also had security alert on the U.S. virtual embassy on Tehran website on Monday, stating U.S. citizens should expect continued internet outages, plan alternative means of communication, and if safe to do so, consider departing Iran by land to Armenia or Turkey. This is for Americans within Iran, which, if you are an American within Iran, Jesus, good luck to you. I don't know why you would ever go there. I didn't even know Americans are allowed to go in Iran. Like I thought they won't even allow that kind of passwords to go in. But yeah, it's scary to hear that. And I mean, I think Jonathan, when he was on the show, was saying that he's like scared to go to some other country because, will America actually come and rescue him? Will this
Right.
administration actually be open to, like, something I remember, there was this, if you remember, I think it happened during Biden administration, where some woman, maybe in basketball or some sports, she was arrested in
In
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah, and was traded for some like retired weapons dealer or something like that. And I remember Republicans and maybe even Trump like criticizing that. So yeah, there is like a genuine worry of, like, if a dictatorship takes you, will the American government actually try to fight for you?
Right. I'm not sure they will at this point. Or they're not going to do it with any gusto. That's for sure. Yeah, she was a WNBA player. That's right. And she got caught with some drugs or something in Russia, and ended
Yeah,
up having to be
when you
traded.
say drugs, I think it was like weed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah, sorry. Nothing crazy. I think it was weed, you're right. Um, and we ended up having to trade something for her. But no, I'm with Jonathan in that regard. I've had some invites to speak in countries that not even are, at war or even that hostile to America, but are bordering countries that are at war or hostile to America, and I have declined them. I will not be uh, traveling when there is such a weak administration in that regard in power, except to places that I feel very comfortable in. Um, but Yeah, I don't know. This administration in some ways wants to be this scary guard dog of the world and make them do a lot of things that he thinks are good, and on the other hand, seem to be completely ineffectual in getting countries to actually do those things, save for his favorite toy tariffs. But post Venezuela, I don't know. We'll see. I think it is a little bit of a different game. I don't know if Iran legitimately thinks that Trump would come in there and replace them or not. But if they are scared of that, maybe they, I don't know, maybe I don't know what they do. But I hope it's not some weird deal that Trump is cutting that's going to keep them in power.
Yeah, and which again, just a reminder, when it came to Iran and doing a deal and unfreezing the funds, Biden did that and was criticized
Yeah.
by Republicans. It was a big talking point. They were saying that Biden gave Iran billions of dollars. Technically, didn't give it to him. It was kind of like Iranian money because it was like frozen funds for some of the trade. But yeah, it was definitely released and therefore gave breathing room to Iran. And especially right now, where I've seen people posting it that Rial has completely crashed. And yeah, officially, pretty
Yeah.
much Iran has no value. So we are releasing because the money that would be released are American dollars, billions of. I think over 20 million. Some estimates, 20 billion. Some estimates say of potentially of frozen funds that could potentially be released. So this would be a huge deal for Iran to actually get that. So yeah, any sort of deal would basically be death sentence for the protesters in Iran.
Yes. Be horrifying.
Now we had one video we wanted to play, so let's actually take a look at that one as well.
I've had so many messages from my friends from Iran. Some are just, followers that I haven't met, and many of friends that I went to school with, grew up with, and they've been really interesting conversations. I think and this is a discussion I've had with my friends from Venezuela and my friends from Syria about the ability to separate our wishes, our traumas from the big picture. And I find it really quite alarming that many of the folks that are DMing me videos and talking points to post have incredibly pro-Zionist leanings from their own social media pages. So listen, if you're telling me to post something and your page is supporting an occupying power that is performing the most advanced apartheid state in human history and a medieval eradication of a people of which half are children, that's not going to work for me. If you are supporting that.
Okay, maybe we can finish the rest later. But hey, I found this oh, by the way, this person is the head of the South Bank Center, which is some sort of artsy thing in the United Kingdom. But it's more about what specifically he says and represents rather than who he is. And I found this interesting, the fact that we haven't seen that much support for the Iranian protesters. And I'm wondering if the thing is, especially if you look at the coverage or how people were talking about the Iranian attack on Israel that happened, I think was it both last year and the year before? The several attacks that the missile barrages from Iran to Israel, and how a lot of people were almost trying to justify it if they are basically at a problem of, if you support these protesters, you are going against the Iranian regime that is, quote, anti-Zionist. And of course, we cannot be seen supporting Israel.
Yes, the media disinterest, the political disinterest, the sort of general left disinterest in what's going on in Iran is ideological, for sure. I do think that the Iranian protests being pro-freedom, anti-theocracy, anti-Islamism, largely pro-Western, when you look at what they're talking about, means that they are also largely pro-Israel. And that is problematic for so many narratives, right? It's problematic for the anti-capitalist storytelling. It's problematic for the anti-Western grievance politics. It's problematic for the post-colonialists and their analysis of power. It's pretty much inconvenient for everyone who controls some sort of narrative. So of course they have a disinterest in this. Again, to throw props to the Babylon Bee, who's been doing killer, right? They're talking about how politicians worried that Iranian protests will infect America, and that we'll get interested in what they're interested in. But I do think that the protests don't flatter the worldview of the modern media class. They don't flatter the worldview of the modern academic class. So of course they're going to ignore them or tut them or at least minimize them in a way that makes sure that there is some silence here. I don't think the silence is confusion about what the protesters are for. I think the silence is pretty purposeful. It shows a strong discomfort with these institutions, with what an actual pro-freedom revolt looks like.
Yeah, and even when it comes to, I think what they're saying is, yeah, actually being confronted by the facts, actually, facing a contradiction. Because the
Yes.
fact is, if you are a pro-Palestinian supporter, you are supporting a group of people that want to establish a theocracy, that want to wipe the state of Israel from the face of the earth. That is what they stand for right now. Maybe at some point they stood for something else. I don't think so. Or maybe they will stand for something different in the future. But the fact is, that is what it represents right now. And if you are behind Palestinians, if you are against Israel, you are standing up against Western values. You are standing up against the one free state in the Middle East. And yeah, that converts also to Iran. The fact is that, and I've seen that from like several, especially leftists, this kind of like, I prefer the Ayatollah regime rather than some Western puppet that would be like friendly to the state of Israel. And I mean, yeah, once you believe that, and this goes back to the blame America first or the anti-Western policy, right? Is anything that is anti-Western, you consider good. That's why you have, Hassan Piker going into a cultural trip to China to talk about how great they are. So I mean, what else you mentioned? Like apartheid state in human history. And
Yeah.
this is the contradiction you're dealing with, right? If you are lying to yourself about saying that Israel is an apartheid, then yeah, you are confronted with the facts. You are confronted with the fact that it's not true. And then you have to do something about it.
Yeah, Israel's an apartheid state, therefore I can't protest a theocracy in Iran. Uh, even if all those things were true, it makes no sense. But it's really remarkable to see. I think freedom movements anywhere in the world make people with power nervous, even in democracies, because they have to check themselves. Um, it raises uncomfortable questions that people don't want to confront, so they're ignoring it. It's classic evasion, and it's pretty easy to do. Uh, the one that I do think is interesting is how little of this we actually see in the mainstream media. I mean, I understand like folks like the person in this video. I understand that, but like even just from a pure ratings standpoint, one would think this would be something to watch. But no, they have pretty actively suppressed it, except for in a few places. You get certainly more coverage of it in worldwide media than you do in U.S. media. If I want to go learn what's going on, I have to go to I have to go to a country in Europe and look at their news about what's going on in Iran. Here, it's very difficult to find anything even remotely interesting. Or I go directly to X, of course.
Yeah, and even with that, right? When it comes to the coverage, because you could like make a case, we don't know what's really going on, but it hasn't stopped the coverage when it comes to Palestinians. The fact is that was and is
That's
still
right.
covered pretty much every day on every media, and this has been going on for more than 2 years. Yeah, more than 2 years. I'm still confused when I look at 2026. But it has been going on for more than 2 years. and with a lot of facts we didn't know, yet it was reported, right?
Yes.
The fact is that the numbers, for example, the deaths, were fake, were just giving out by Hamas, yet were reported. When it comes to Iran, why can't we see the same kind of thing where, this is what we have, this is what's being covered, and I don't know how the coverage was during the Arab Spring, during the several revolts in all of the Middle East. But it seems like this should be the one of the kind event if it actually does happen, right? And even when it came to the end of, well, not the end of the Syrian civil war, but the fall of Assad regime, I don't know how much coverage I really remember. Yet this is the, event that has been going on for like 12 years with high American involvement. And, it kind of happened and now we're going through. And yeah, it seems like the same with Iran. This is, the Iranian embassy, the American embassy in Iran takeover was one of the monumental events that happened in the past. And now that we might see the return of what it was before, it's like, well, maybe.
Yes. Actually, we've talked about Iran a couple times, and I've been on the show, and I have to admit that even my own evaluation of the quickness or the success of this has been shaped by the media coverage here, which has at best sort of shaped it as oh, this happens once in a while, right? The Iranians get upset and they protest a little bit, and then things go back to the way they were. It wasn't until having to come on this show and actually do some deeper research that I saw how incredibly different it was than previous times, how much more advanced the protest is, how much more clear it is that the people want to bring down the regime as opposed to just want small changes here and there. They actually want them out. And so anyone who believes that the individual has sovereignty should be trumpeting this as loudly as they can and showing anyone who has access to it from Iran that they are morally supported around the world. If you have means to do anything else, I do think that you should investigate that, although I have nothing in particular to recommend. But it is a turning point for sure, something that is an incredible thing to witness happen so dramatically and so quickly. So I wish the Iranians all the best for sure.
Yeah, and I would definitely, I always say, in the sake of the best within the Iranian people,
Yeah.
because the fact is, it is a long-time dictatorship and people participated in the revolution. So it's not like this is a great amount of, like, everybody's great in Iran and simply the bad IRGC is like shutting it down. No, the fact is that the regime needs support among its people to survive. So I just hope, the bravest and the most capable Iranians stand up and hopefully turn it into something better. And I hope the West gives its support, as we should, to some extent, wherever there is freedom, not from some moral obligation to sacrifice ourselves for the others, but from our own self-interest. The fact is, Iran has been one of the biggest enemies of the West for a long time. If we can take it out without boots on the ground even, that would be pretty incredible, and that chance should be taken if possible. Then any last thoughts from you or anything else you'd like to say, and where can people find you or something you'd like to recommend?
Sure. I mean, I think some of the through lines of what we've been talking about is that freedom embarrasses systems built on control. And I do think that when people start throwing out their jailers, politicians around the world start checking their own locks, and that's good once in a while. I wish we'd have a little bit more of that here at home to give a serious note to a Babylon Bee joke. But thanks for having me. Always good to talk about these things. People can find me on X, Twitter at Daniel T. Richards or danieltrichards.com.
And with that, thank you everybody for watching. We have the Atlas Shrugged book club today. So if you are a member on YouTube, you should be able to see the scheduled live stream. If you are a member on the website, you should have received an email. So make sure to join us for that. And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Objective and the reality show. Until then, bye-bye.